Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Cruising into a Tuesday evening. Hope you've had a great day. We thank you for joining us here on Sports Talk. The gang is all together once again for the final time of this week. K-Mac is here. The Pro is here. Carson is here. Larkin's here. I'm here. Now, tomorrow night I'll be in Charlotte, USC and North Carolina baseball. Then Harbortown for the RBC Heritage, which begins on Thursday morning. So looking forward to that. 800-956-7266. I'll be staying Dabo Swinney's newly purchased 80-foot yacht anchored at Harbortown. I'm sure he can afford it now after getting a raise of better than $1 million a year from the Tigers. We'll give you the details on that contract here coming up. 800-956-7266, the number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @sportstalksc. So, yes, indeed, Clemson showed Dabo the money. I don't think anybody's going to begrudge him because of what he's done in 8 full seasons there, especially what he's done the last 5 years and what the future. You know, this is an investment in the future of Clemson football with what they've been building in terms of the brick and mortar stuff. But that's no good if you don't have good people in charge, and they feel like they've got the right guy in charge of their program now, and they're making that long-term commitment.
That's what you have to do in this day and age. It is an arms race, and you have to take care of guys like Dabo Swinney when they have those big runs. If not, other people will come calling. NFL teams could come calling Dabo Swinney right now. He is one of the biggest names in football, and about $5.5 million a season is what you have to pay for a guy that makes a run to a BCS, or not a BCS, now a college football playoff championship game. So that's what you have to do if you're Dan Radakovich, and it does just show you how much money is in college athletics. And on the same day we find out that Clemson students are going to have to start paying for tickets in the lower bowl now. You got to pay for Dabo Swinney. I mean, this is where we are now. We got to
timing is bad. That was just the timing is bad because you knew suddenly was going to happen. Because I think I'd heard Dan Radakovich talk about it before, that we're the only one that don't charge an athletic activity fee.
Yeah,
and so, but they should have just kind of staggered the announcements a little bit away from each other. But this is a preemptive strike. You see that the coach at Alabama is heading towards 65. He's 64 now. And just to tell him, look, Bama, hands off. Whenever your guy walks, hands off.
Well, you know, it's going to start out at $6 million for Dabo's buyout. But, you know, if Saban coaches 2 or 3 more years, that buyout will be down to $3-4 million. That's a drop in the bucket for Alabama if they decide to go in that direction when that time comes. Your thoughts on Dabo's new deal? We'll be right back. Welcome back in to Sports South Carolina Radio Network. We're presented by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. 800-956-7266. The number. Lines are open right now. Jump on board. Coming up, we'll hear from Dan Radakovich. His comments announcing the new deal with Dabo Swinney. Presbyterian coach Harold Nichols in hour number 2 to review the spring for the Blue Hose. Chip Weil from Darlington will be with us at 7:30. Talk about the weekend past at Texas and more around the world of NASCAR. And a full boat of recruiting knowledge for you tonight here as well. So we got a lot of great stuff for you. 800-956-7266. If you're stuck in traffic somewhere, don't get angry. Relax. Stay with us. Give us a call. If you're heading home, you get home. Don't forget, don't leave us in the car like the kids. Take us with you inside. Listen to us somehow, some way in your home, on your smartphone, on your radio, on your television. If you lose our signal for one reason or another, you can stay with us on our website with the audio feed and also the video feed. And, of course, on your smartphones, you can get us on the TuneIn app and also through iHeartRadio. So no excuse for getting away from us here on Sports Talk. Good to see K-Mac here in particular because I know it's tough. I remember when Larry Bird was hanging it up. Of course, Larry Bird retired in the offseason, so he didn't have a chance to go through a final year with people knowing that this game would be one less for him, counting down the hours, the minutes till the last introduction, the last everything, because he retired with a bad back and did so in the offseason. But we went through this for me with Derek Jeter a couple of seasons ago. It's not fun. It's really not fun to see your favorite athlete up, especially in all seriousness. Now, I pick on Kobe a lot, but he still looks like a guy who can play at a high level if he had a good team around him.
He dropped 35 in this, next to last game. So he can still play a little bit. He can't make it through the rigors of a season, and the supporting cast is not there. And he's a big reason why. The Lakers gave him a huge contract. Of course, the problems there. So it's time. He's going out still relatively on top of his game as much as you can be. He's lost some, but he still has now, even losing what he's lost. He has more than a lot of these guys will ever have in the NBA. He's that good. But it is time for him. It's time for the Lakers to move on. He's had a great run, 20 years with the same team, the only player in NBA history to spend 20 years with one team. That's a feat in and of itself. Duncan will probably catch him or maybe even pass him before it's over. Yeah, it's been a nice run, and it is kind of hard to believe that it'll be the last time for him. But it hasn't really been hard because the Lakers have been so bad the past couple of seasons. That's been really hard. Seeing an organization as great as the Lakers play like this. It's never happened in my lifetime. It's never happened in their organization's history. So that's been the real hard thing. I knew Kobe was going to leave, but the Lakers being bad that's the hard part.
The losing is never fun.
No. Well, then again, I always tell people that I let my best friend be a Lakers fan because he went through Elmore Smith and Cornell Walker. So I remember when the Lakers were kind of out there for a while.
Yeah, they weren't like this. I remember when they had Sedale Threatt and Smush Parker, and you're going, okay, but this is a whole nother level. But all these people for the years that called them, oh, you're a bandwagon fan. Nobody better ever call me a bandwagon fan again. I've been a Lakers fan, still a Lakers fan. They will be back, hopefully, before I die.
So what do you think? If Pops would have coached Bird and maybe Kobe could have coached another 4 or 5 years. Bird is resting tonight. He can't play.
That back for Bird was so bad at the end. The guy could hardly walk.
That's one of the reasons Duncan's still hanging around. Pop said, "You ready to go?" No, you want to rest tonight? Go ahead.
They didn't have what they have now too with these athletes, the training and the rehab and the ways to get these guys healthy and back on their feet again. They didn't have that in the 80s. These guys just went out there and played hard, lived hard. Now these guys are well-oiled machines.
Well, Bird was world all too. He had the bad back. He grabbed a cold one, and he's ready to go back in.
I can remember games watching him stretched out on the
He couldn't even sit on the bench.
He had to stretch that back out because it would tighten up on him. But that, for me, Larry Bird's like one of my all-time great athletic heroes. Of course, being older, I got a long list of athletic heroes going back to Bill Russell. It was neat seeing Bill Russell throwing out the first pitch in Boston.
Did he throw a strike
yesterday? He certainly
He
did.
shot-footed a pitch over there. Yeah.
And go back to Bart Starr and the Packers back in the '60s, and on and on and on. But anyway, I know it's always it's tough when the guy that you root for the most is hanging it up. And it was tough watching Jeter go through the last year on a bad Yankees team that didn't make the playoffs, and to see him trying to make something happen with a below average team.
Well, that's why I like what Jim Brown did. Everybody thought was the only thing we remember about Jim Brown was he was at the top of his game because he walked away before any of his skills eroded.
Well, we're seeing that more and more in the NFL now, aren't
Exactly.
we? More and more players are saying, hey, you know what? I'm walking away while my eggs aren't scrambled and my legs still work. 800-956-7266 is the number. A few notes to pass along to you, beginning with the details of Dabo Swinney's new contract at Clemson, finalized today. 6-year deal will run through December 31st, 2021, with a look-in scheduled for January 15th, 2018 through April 15th, 2018, which they will look in and see if they still have any money left in the bank to continue to fund this massive new contract. His base salary for the 2016 season and beyond will be $245,000, but you throw in supplemental income, licensing, his total package in 2016 will be $4.550 million. The annual compensation amount for 2016 will be adjusted, prorated for the remainder of the year. Now, in 2017, it will climb to 4.8. In 2018, 5.05. In 2019, 5.25. In 2020, 5.45. And in 2021, topping out at $5.65 million. And, of course, if things are still going extremely well for Clemson and Dabo before 2021, well before, you could imagine that things could be changed again. Now, a few of the other prominent facts from this new contract. The incentives that are available for him the next 2 seasons: an extra $100,000 if they win 10 games, $150,000 if they win 11, $200,000 if they win 12. Highest of the USA Today or top 25 poll finish. A top 5 will be worth $200,000, a top 10 $100,000, a top 15 $50,000. ACC championship game appearance and game winner would be $75. And there are other incentives built in. College football semifinal appearance will be $400,000. An additional $100,000 to that if they win the championship. Coach of the Year honors, things of that nature as well. Plus a bonus if now you see, this is where I have a problem with contracts with coaches today. They give you a bonus if your APR is above a certain number. In his case, he gets a $75,000 bonus if the APR is above $950. I mean, shouldn't that just come standard that you want to get your guys educated and they get the best grades possible? Do you have to have I'm not just pointing out this contract, any contract. I think that should come understood that, as a coach, teacher, you should be required to make sure your guys are getting their education and the grades are as good as possible.
What was that Joe Morrison used to say?
It's not my job to educate them.
I'm here to win ball games.
You can't say that anymore.
You couldn't
say that in 2016.
Yeah, suppose they all get A's and I don't win a game. Guess who'll be out?
Now the buyout, if Clemson were to fire him without cause in 16 or 17, it's a $20 million buyout. That decreases to $5 million by 2021.
Ain't nobody hiring Dabo Swinney, and he could go 0-12 next year. He ain't getting fired.
All right, hang on. We'll be right back with more. All right, so we mentioned that if Dabo is fired without cause in the first 2 years of this new deal, $20 million is what Clemson will have to pay him. Going down to $18 million in 18, 14 and 19, $9 million in 20, and $5 million in 21. Now, if Dabo were to leave for another head coaching job in 2016, he would face a $6 million buyout, dropping to 5, dropping to 4, dropping to 3, 2, and 1. If he leaves for an NFL head coaching job, he owes Clemson nothing.
Wow. That's
he owes
interesting.
Clemson nothing.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there you go. Those are the pertinent specs of his new contract.
Because everybody talks about Alabama, and rightly so. That's his alma mater. And, if Nick Saban left, that'd probably be the first call. But I do think maybe a more intriguing thing for Dabo Swinney would be, you know what? I wonder if I could do it in the NFL.
They all have that NFL itch,
and
don't
Pete Carroll is a guy that Dabo Swinney has talked about as somebody. He read Pete Carroll's book, and Pete Carroll has been a big influence. I would, and I'm speaking for Dabo here, and that's a dangerous thing, but I would venture to say outside of Gene Stallings, that might be one of the bigger influences that he's had, and he is very similar. You could find a lot of similarities to Pete Carroll and Dabo Swinney. So that is a pretty intriguing scenario.
A couple of other quick notes. John Whittle from thebigspur.com reported 2 interesting notes today. Number one, he reported that Frank Martin's number 1 choice for the vacant assistant coaching job on his staff is Dave Dickerson at Ohio State. Native of South Carolina, of course, former player at Maryland, assistant at Maryland, head coach at Tulane. He also reported that freshman forward Raymond Doby currently is not with the team. He said that he is serving a suspension. Well, he didn't call it a suspension, but just said he's not with the program, not with the team for a violation of team rules, off the court violation of team rules is how he put it. No official confirmation from USC on that. That's according to John Whittle. And let's see, several baseball games rained out today. We do have Clemson and Western Carolina scheduled to go tonight up at Doug Kingsmore, and the Citadel at Winthrop scheduled to go tonight as well. Let's jump to the phones. Delvin in Fountain Inn, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a well-deserved deal, and I think he was able to get more money since his assistant was already taken care of. Usually he like to defer to his assistant and let them get paid more. And on K-Mac, I went to Deadspin. I see you talk about, man, they wrong for that, ain't they?
What's that? Say that one more time.
Deadspin article.
Deadspin. Yeah. They really lit into Dabo Swinney. Well, they're still bitter at Dabo, and he took some heat. He also took heat on the John Oliver show on HBO when Swinney made the comment that he's against paying players. He said, when you professionalize this, I'm getting out. I'll go find something else to do. And their beef is, and again, they call them entitled and an a-hole, and that's wrong. But I do think you can't aptly point out the irony of a guy making $5.5 million saying, I'll get out of this college coaching business when it becomes a professional. I don't want any part of it. You're making $5.5 million. It is a pro sport.
Yeah,
I mean,
his
they
side
don't
of
pay
it's
guys
professional.
$5 million to coach
His
Pee-wee.
side of it is professional. I mean, he's got to earn a living. He's got to get paid. We'll
All right.
pick up on that coming up here in just a moment. Don't go away. And we're back at Sports Talk Carolina Radio Network here from downtown Columbia Main Streets, because we are the Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina, from the coast to the mountains every night. Glad to have you with us. Coming up in just a moment, Dan Radakovich, Clemson Athletic Director, will talk about the new contract handed out to Dabo Swinney today that will carry Swinney through the 2021 season and pay him on average better than $5 million per year, makes him the second highest paid coach in the ACC behind only Jimbo Fisher, places him solidly in the top 10, near the top 5, right around the top 5 of the highest paid coaches annually in college football. So what was Dan Radakovich thinking in putting this contract together and getting it through the Board of Trustees in consultation with Dabo, and why today? Why was this now the time to come out with the announcement? Let's listen in as Radakovich talked with the media this morning after the contract was announced.
We started hearing about this possible discussion back at the national championship game. It just now got done.
Right.
Was it just simply just a matter of time getting the two of you together to sit down and talk?
It really was. I mean, obviously right after the national championship game, it compressed the timetable for finishing recruiting and moving on to the next year's recruiting. So Coach was involved in that. We worked through the assistant coaches' salaries and support staff salaries at our last board meeting. And then there were weeks where he was traveling, I was traveling. We finally were able to get together near the end of February and then into March, and kind of came to some agreements. And the board meeting was so close, the next board meeting was so close, we just said, okay, instead of doing a special call, instead of doing those things, we'll just pull this together and have it done here during the April board meeting. So it was a good process.
The first question would be, you just did a contract in 2014.
Right.
So why so quick to do another?
Well, we've performed incredibly well since 2014. That's the number one reason. And I think that as we look at Coach Swinney and all the things that he and his staff have done and allowed us as an organization to grow, he's an integral part of that. And we wanted to make sure that we were rewarding him and keeping him in the elite level of college head football coaches in the country. And I think this contract does that.
He is now, I mean, if I'm looking at it right, seems to be in the top 10
Yes.
Nationally, probably second in the ACC.
Yes, sir.
Fair terms? I mean, just your thoughts on the amount?
Absolutely. I think it really, the tethers on both sides, from the university to coach and from coach to the university, are there. We're making great investments in the football program right now. Certainly the football operations center is looking to be finished next year. That's a great investment on where we need to go as an athletics program for our football program. So we're excited about the opportunities of things that are moving ahead, and we wanted to make sure to do it with Coach Swinney.
Dan, is the gist of this not really that complicated? If you want a top 10 coach, you got to pay top 10, top 5 million.
Yeah, in some ways it really is. When you look at, I mean, the data's out there. You can mine it and you kind of morph it a little bit to your current situation at your university, and not all contracts are the same, but essentially you're looking at a market of very few individuals who are incredibly successful at their craft, and we have one on our campus, and we want to make sure he stays here.
Does his success against some of those other top 10 salary coaches, is that part of negotiations?
Not really. It's important. It's a good thing to have, but I think it allows you to have the total success that you have, and then those are just the folks that are inside that neighborhood as well.
How easy has it been to convince board of trustees, boosters, people of that nature, because Clemson has not always been a top 10 head coach salary type of place?
Well, I think that, as we went through last year, there was a great sense, and you guys have seen it through our social media and exposure, and probably with all of your areas as well. There's a lot of focus on Clemson right now, and a lot of great focus on our athletic program due to the fact that we had that incredible run this past fall. So as we look at how important that is from a board member's perspective, it moves away from athletics. It moves into other areas of the university. There was a lot of great fundraising, non-athletic, done in Miami and in Glendale. So that's one of the charges of an athletic program. We create events to showcase an institution. And with our football program right now under Dabo's leadership, that's at a whole level that Clemson hasn't seen in an awful long time. So we want to make sure to continue to move in that direction and allow the success athletically to spill out to the other parts of the institution.
How do you determine that? You know, what's Dabo's value to the university as a whole? How do you come to terms on that?
You know, I don't know. It's hard to calculate anyone's value within an organization. We just know that you look back a few years ago and we aren't where we are today. And, you know, there's been record fundraising in IPTAY. There's been record fundraising on campus. There's been a lot of focus on programs that we have. The experience that our students receive here as part of going to school is better now than it had been in the past. So I don't know that you throw it all on one individual, but certainly the leadership that he's had in our football program has contributed greatly to making that all very positive.
You mentioned getting all the assistants under contract as well. How important was that to make a new commitment to this entire coaching staff?
Well, that was Dabo. That was very important to Dabo, and that's why we took it and make sure we have the assistant coaches and the people who are, you know, surrounding him and doing great work for our football program, and then we would shift our focus to him.
It wasn't under your watch, but Dabo gave up $265,000 of bonuses starting, I think, in 2011 to his assistants to say that he would invest in the program. Do you feel like this is a way maybe of now investing back in Dabo, or is that a way to look at it?
You know, everyone grows at different rates. You know, plant, you put the seed in, it's going to grow, and sometimes you got to water it and to make it grow. We now have a full-grown plant, tree, oak here that we want to keep, and I don't look at it in that way. But I certainly understand now, getting to know Coach Sweeney like I have, why he did it. Okay, and we are fortunate to be able to utilize the resources that we have right now to make sure that he is compensated fairly given the market and what he's done for Clemson University.
Did you feel it was necessary to give him a raise to keep him around long term?
It was just the right thing to do. You know, given the success that we've had and where we are in the market, you know, it was the right thing to do, and that's where we started these discussions from.
Do you anticipate, though, because head coaching salaries continue to rise, that topic might not be over? He could still receive interest from other schools.
Well, I think if he does, and certainly someone who is very good at their craft will receive interest a lot. We have some tethers back and forth, you know, for the institution should, you know, something like that happen. But, you know, while you protect yourself that way, I know Dabo is so invested in this community. I mean, last Friday was a great example. The foundation that he and Kathleen have had a record fundraising night, and they give all that money back into the community. The $55 million football operations center that we're building, that he's had a great hand in, and his staff has had a great hand in. That's something that has his fingerprints on it. And this is a place where I think he can stay for an awful long time and be successful. Everything that's necessary, from, you know, great student athletes within a very close range, they're here. Great fans, they're here. Great fundraising organization in IPTAY, it's here. Great coaching staff, it's here. And soon to be an incredible physical operation for the coaches and student athletes that's going to be here.
Dan Radakovich. Wow. Good stuff from him. The optimism is off the chart. They feel like they have got it together in every aspect of a football program: head coach, assistant coach, facilities, for a long, long run of success there. Back in a moment. Back with you, Sports Talk, presented by the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education. Find out how you can get help paying for college at one of 42 events this month. Go to sccango.org. 800-956-7266, the number. Other story coming out of Clemson, we touched on it earlier, is that Dan Radakovich and Clemson have begun the process of implementing a new student ticket program for football games. Radakovich said today the new fee will be totally elective, and students will still have the opportunity to attend home football games for free. He said they've been discussing the student purchase of tickets for about 2 years, and he said it just kind of happened that it came out today, the same time they announced a new contract. And bottom line is the upper deck tickets, 3,300 tickets in the upper deck, those remain free. So students who want those tickets, they don't have to pay anything. If you want to sit down below in a section reserved for students, the lower deck tickets, that carries a contribution to IPTAY, $225 per football season. And the students who choose to participate would no longer have to worry about claiming a ticket for each home game. $225 for typically 7 home games, sometimes 8. That's about $25 a ticket or so. That's a pretty cheap ticket when you break it down per game. And you can say, well, do students have that money? Well, a lot of them do. A lot of them have jobs. A lot of them come from the situation where they got
should they?
money.
I mean, again, we're talking about a school and an athletic department that has enough money to pay $5.5 million. Why can't you let the students come free? I mean, would you be okay? But if high schools start charging their students to go to games, students should be able to go to games for free.
We've all had. You had. I had. I know. Going where we went, South Carolina. And I'm sure this is the case in many schools. You have an athletic fee,
activity fee,
and that was.
But if they
part
build
of the
it
deal
into
for you
everybody,
getting your tickets.
if they built it into your student fees, that's one thing. Because that's the other part of this story is these students are already paying a ton of money. Students really do get gouged. They get gouged at books. They get gouged for meal plans. They get gouged for dorms and lodging. So now you're going to just take a little bit. And everybody always says, oh, it's only $25 a game. It's just unnecessary. It's just, to me, it's being flat out greedy. And I think what the real end game is, hopefully they won't take it. They'll take the free tickets upstairs and we can sell those seats downstairs for a hell of a lot more than $25
Radakovich
a game.
said the $225 is in line with other universities, what they charge. It would be a discount over what season holders pay as well. He said, and what we thought the value would be, some schools might charge a value to all students, 80 to 100 to 125 to 250. He said Virginia, this is his words, Virginia, the leader in the clubhouse at $670 per student, generating $13 million for their athletic program each and every year, he said. This program would generate a couple of $1 million for us, about $1.8 million. That's how we look to create some value points. We knew we wanted to keep the upper deck free. That put us down into the lower deck. General season tickets or IPTAY season tickets are $365, so a significant decrease or discount for those tickets. So, yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you're getting a better seat at a reduced price. On the other hand, you're being asked as a student to pony up on top of the other fees that you have in there. It's the cost of doing business today in college athletics. I don't think there's any way around it. And you know what? The 80,000 people that go there, or the 75,000 who aren't students, who are the fans who want to see all of this, to them, the price is worth it. Whatever it costs to have a winning program in Clemson, which is the mindset at South Carolina, at Michigan, at Ohio State, they'll pay the price.
They're going to reach a point where they're not going to pay the price, though.
What
all these
is
games are on TV.
Point?
Well, they're going to find out.
The point is.
Well, they're keep pushing it. They're going to find out. And already at some schools, and I know this is an issue, places like Alabama where they're giving away tickets for free. Students aren't taking them, and that's another issue. And I get why you should have it. If you get a ticket and you don't show up, fine, we're going to give it to somebody else. If these tickets aren't claimed at a certain time, we are going to sell them and get other people in there. We're not going to lose money. But a lot of these students now, and this is an issue at Georgia, at Alabama, at these big-time football schools, where students are going, you know what? We don't really want to go. We're fine being outside. We have a flat-screen TV. We have cornholes set up. We have a cooler. We have food. We have everything we need right here. We have internet where we can get on our phones, where we go in the stadium when we don't have it. So they are going to have to think about their plan going forward. If they're going to start charging these students to come to the games, $250, they better figure out a way to keep them there and get them there. If not, they're just not going to show up.
I have not yet seen that point where colleges are willing to peel back. It's like continue to build, continue to charge, and you know what? The fan base is willing to continue to pay for that hope of being in the playoffs and the national championship. Time now for recruiting knowledge here on Sports Talk. Defensive end Zachary Carter, 6'5", 235 from Tampa. No stranger to Clemson. The Tiger coaches. He was there for the spring game, his third visit in less than a year. He was there for Florida State game and a junior day in March and got a lot of one-on-one time with the coaches, he said. Had a sit-down meeting with Dabo Swinney in his office. He said the message he took away from them is he is their guy at defensive end. They made him feel like a priority. And he said Marion Hobby has been kind of giving him that info for a while. He said they're very high on his list, still very high after the visit. Also, no short list yet, but thinking pretty hard about Florida, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, and Auburn, along with Clemson. Only other visit this spring was Florida, going to Ole Miss Thursday. No decision until after the season. 76 tackles and 8 sacks this year. Linebacker Markel Benton, Phoenix City, Alabama, has USC and Clemson in his top 6, along with Auburn, Alabama, Florida State, LSU. 2018 defensive back Asante Samuel Jr. of Fort Lauderdale has Clemson in his top 10, along with Florida State, Miami, Ohio State, LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, and Michigan. Basketball, 6'2", point guard Corey Holden, the transfer from Delaware, makes his official to USC this weekend. This will be his first visit since announcing his plans to transfer. Some call him the top prospect available in the transfer market. He said Frank Martin has been in touch with him every day, and he is showing him a lot of love. And he said Martin told him he loves how he runs the pick and roll and thinks he can come in and help the team score and help the team in general. He likes Martin as a coach. He's a native of Salisbury, Maryland, and is friends with USC pitcher Cannon Cropper. He is looking for what he thinks is the best situation for him to help him get to where he needs to be and help him take care of his family. Unofficial visit to Seton Hall, April 19th. Official visit to Baylor, April 29th. No timetable for a decision. 6'5", Presbyterian transfer Deshaun Murray on Middle Tennessee and Auburn. Went to Middle Tennessee last week, goes to Auburn April 29th. And College of Charleston got a commitment from 6'6", Jalen McManus out of Charlotte. Recruiting knowledge on a Tuesday. To the phones we go once again, and we're going to hit up Scott in Orlando. Scott, welcome into Sports Talk. How you doing?
Hey, doing well. I just want to know what your thoughts were on Michael Wayne's play. I mean, to me, it looks like he's going to have that number one position left. Jake comes in. He's going to be maybe a second string quarterback. I know that's a lot of speculation, but he really looked good to me the other day. What did you think?
I like him. I've liked McElwain from the get-go. Watching it on video, and we'll talk more after the break with K-Mac since he was there, but watching the video of the game, I thought McElwain looked in complete control of his surroundings and was by far the most completely talented quarterback on the field in terms of his ability to run and throw. Of course, he is young, and he's going to have to grow up under fire, and that's not always a good thing. All right, we'll be back. We'll talk more about that in the next hour, plus Harold Nichols and a visit to Darlington coming up.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. Coming up, Harold Nichols, head coach at Presbyterian College, will join us. We can jump around the state, catching up with football coaches following spring practice. I think pretty much everybody is done around the state now. Can't think of anybody else who's still out there practicing. So good time to catch up with the coaches, get their thoughts on what they just went through and look ahead to the next season. And a couple of other notes to share with you tonight out of Georgia. This goes back to what Steve Spurrier said a few years ago. If you're going to play Georgia, play them early because of all the suspensions. Two freshman players, Julian Rochester, Chad Clay, they were in jail this morning, $2,000 bond, accused of 2 felonies related to shooting and possessing a BB gun in the dorm room. They were charged with having a weapon in a school zone. That's a criminal damage in the 2nd degree. The story is that they were shooting up Solo cups in their dorm room and did damage to the walls and to the door. And their attorney, the infamous Kim Stevens of Athens, who gets all of the Georgia athletes who get into trouble.
She's the Lori of Athens,
I guess. Is it a girl? Is it a woman or a man? Kim.
Know.
Kim could go both ways.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, well, it doesn't say here.
I don't know that well.
Said the players were shooting Solo cups in their dorm room with a Daisy BB gun.
Is there any other kind?
He said the way the statute reads, anything that shoots a projectile, including a straw and spitball, fits the definition of a weapon on campus, Stevens said. Quote, every kid eating with a steak knife in the campus dining hall commits a felony under the statute.
That's good lawyering right there. That's some solid lawyering.
Yeah.
Well, it does sound like it was pretty – when you hear the initial charge, you go, whoa. But when you hear that they were just shooting a Solo cup in their dorm room and did some damage –
it's juvenile stuff.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Juvenile stuff.
Yeah, being dumb.
Well,
nobody was hurt. They weren't trying to hurt anybody. They weren't robbing anybody. They weren't trying to cause any damage. Probably just weren't thinking straight.
Well, they had to know shooting a BB gun in their room was
but they're
gonna
hitting a
cause damage.
cup, and you just—I mean, you were 19 once.
point
Did you
is-
not mess up a wall in an
never
apartment?
shot a BB gun
I mean,
in a
really,
room.
it probably costs about as much damage if you put a poster up or you do dumb stuff when you're that age.
No,
The thing that makes it a story is that they had the people heard gun and they heard weapons
Right.
charge, and they're going, wait a minute. But in the reality, it's a BB
Now,
gun.
I've knocked down a light fixture with a basketball once, but no, the key point is just get a board and put the board next to the wall so the thing just marks up the board. I mean,
Second and third arrest of a Georgia football player this spring. Defensive lineman Jonathan Ledbetter arrested last month on 2 misdemeanor alcohol charges. Yep. You want to schedule Georgia early. All those suspended players on the sideline. And we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, continuing along on this Tuesday. You know, we can't get enough football here in South Carolina. Just finished up the weekend with a lot of spring football games. And now we're going to catch up with teams around the states who have wrapped up their spring work and looking ahead to the 2016 season. With that in mind, we welcome in Coach Harold Nichols from Presbyterian College. Coach, how are you? Good to have you with us.
Yeah, good help. Always talking college football here in the great state of South Carolina.
Absolutely. Hey, I tell you what, we got a very bad line with you. Let's hang up, guys. We're going to hang up, Carson, and call Coach back. Coach, hang on. We're going to call you right back. Got a lot of static in that line, so no sense trying to force our way through that. So, Coach, hang on for just a moment, and we'll get right back to you. Going to chat with Harold Nichols of Presbyterian. They opened their season at Central Michigan. It'll be here before you know it. You know, with April hitting the halfway point, we get through the rest of April. Really, all you get is May, June, and half of July, because midway through July we have SEC and ACC media days, other media days, and then 1st of August they're back and at it once again. So we don't get much of a break, and we really don't want much of a break, do we? We want to keep football on the mind as much as possible. And as soon as we reconnect with Coach Nichols, we'll bring him back on board.
That depends on how long baseball has your attention.
Well, this is true now. This is true. If one of our teams makes a run to Omaha and stays there for a while, you're talking about no summer. You come back and you've got about 2 weeks to
just
kind
don't
of relax.
lock your keys in the laundromat. That's all I can say.
All right, Coach Nichols now with us. Can you hear us okay, sir?
I hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, much better, much better. Good to have you with us. So what'd you think of your spring this time around?
Well, you know, I think that, you know, we got some things accomplished. One thing I was really pleased with was, you know, we had a difficult time moving the ball some offensively last year. And we had a young quarterback in Ben Cheek that ended up playing most of the year. And it was like he was drinking out of a fire hose most of the year. So game really had slowed down for him a good bit, and really pleased with his progress this spring. And, you know, and had to replace some guys in the back end on the defensive side of the ball, and had some guys step up for us. And so we feel like it was a productive 15 days. We had our final spring scrimmage on Saturday and had a pretty good crowd there, great weather, and made it look like football, we think. So we're pretty pleased where we're at right now.
So when you talk about things slowing down for Ben, what things did you see differently from him in the spring?
Well, I just think, you know, just from an operations standpoint, you know, making his reads, getting us in the right play. You can tell he's just playing with more confidence in the offense. He plays faster, but he thinks, you know, before he throws the football, before he, makes a read. You can just tell a big difference with him. And we have some other young quarterbacks, you know, Will Brock and Cal King, really had good springs for us. So I feel like we got some depth there too. And so really, really pleased with their progress.
You last year, of course, finished up the year with a win at Kennesaw. Having success at the end of the season for the guys who are back, having that success after a tough year for the most part, but then again, a lot of close losses too. I mean, you were in every game down the stretch. You just couldn't figure out a way to win.
Right.
How did that help the guys though this spring, getting that taste of victory there at the very end?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I just had a team meeting not long ago, the older kids, and we had a seniors meeting, and we talked about that. We talked about going through that process. You know, there was about a 4 or 5 week stretch there where, you know, we're losing games by 3 and 4 points, one possession games, a key play here or there goes either way. You know, it goes in our ledger, but you know, it really showed a lot of intestinal fortitude for our football team to come back and play well there that last weekend and get that big win. And you know, hopefully that can kind of carry into off season, which I think it has. We've had a really good winter, and that kind of springboarded us into spring practice. So, you know, I do think that, you know, that's something you can take from, you know, nobody likes losing, and, you know, it doesn't matter if you're losing by 30 points or 3 points. So, I think we got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, knowing that we're so close, and we get a couple plays go our way through a lot of hard work and preparation. Hopefully, we'll be able to get it turned around.
Last year, and there certainly was nothing wrong with your defense. I mean, you held teams down, especially in league play. You held teams down well enough to win all those games, but you got to find more offense. And you mentioned the quarterback. Elsewhere on your offense, do you think you found more offense this spring?
Yeah, we do. We've got a really good running back in Darrell Bridges. Darrell Bridges was an all-conference player for us last year, rushed for over 1,000 yards. And, we had some injuries at the receiver position last year, which kind of handicapped us also. And, I think we're going to be more athletic up front on offense, too. We've got some good young players that are starting to mature just like the quarterback position is. And, I think they're all going to grow together. And, if we can get it all put together, continue to play well on the defensive side of the football and be able to put some points on the board, hopefully that'll relate to some wins in the fall.
Mm-hmm. Defense look as good in the spring as what you saw during the conference slate last year?
Yeah, I think, you lose Donnell Williams and Ed Britt, two of our all-conference players, one at linebacker and one at safety. Those were two of our leaders on the defensive side of the ball, and those will be big shoes to fill. But Jerry Burke, Jordan Guyton, those two guys have come in and played well. Grant Vidal, and we've got some young safeties that have kind of shown up too. So, I think the strength of our football team will probably be in the defensive front. That's a good place to be pretty good at. So, we've got some, guys that are a little long in the tooth there. We've got some experience that, have provided some leadership on that side of the football. So, hopefully we can kind of continue that. And we feel like we had a really good signing class. There's going to be some young guys that will come in and be able to help us and at the receiver position and some of those spots on defense. So I think we'll be in good shape there.
Looking at your schedule, and I just have to kind of shake my head for you. My goodness, only 4 home games, and you got to go to Central Michigan to open it up, and you're going to play Chattanooga, one of the best teams in the SoCon. You're going to play your league schedule. You're going to finish up, of course, with your traditional rival, the Florida Gators. I mean, it's tough. For you, for guys in your situation at a school like yours, it doesn't make it easy, does it?
No, it doesn't. It certainly is a challenging schedule. There's no question about that. We're going to take it head on, just like we have since I've been back. And, our kids have got a good approach towards it. Obviously it's a difficult schedule. Our league's really good, and there's good teams in our league that year in and year out are very competitive. And, I think the Big South Conference is really taking some leaps and bounds forward on a national scale. And then you add in 2 1-8s, which is never easy to do, but it's a great stage to be on. It gives our school and our program great exposure, and gives our kids an opportunity to play on that stage, which they look forward to. So we're going to take it 1 week at a time. I know that's coach speak, but that's the only way that we can kind of approach this thing, because it's a lot to handle. There's no doubt about it, but we're excited about the opportunities that are in front of us in the fall.
That's all you can do. How'd you come out of the spring from an injury standpoint?
Well, I feel like we're relatively healthy. The funny thing about it is coming out of the last or 2 years ago into the spring part, into the 2015 year, we had, probably 8 to 10 surgeries that guys were rehabbing and coming back from. And this year, knock on wood, I don't think we've got anybody that's rehabbing from a surgery or an injury that happened during the spring. So from that standpoint, we've been relatively lucky and healthy. So hopefully that'll continue on in the fall and get those guys out there on the field and playing.
Hey, sounds good. Listen, enjoy a little bit of a break that you get from on the field work. I know you've got recruiting and other things coming up related to football. We'll look forward to seeing you over the summer and again in August when we crank this baby back up.
Well, Phil, I appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys do there at Sports Talk. You guys do a great job covering college football, and appreciate you having me on.
Anytime, sir. Good talking to you. Harold Nichols at Presbyterian College. My goodness, what a tough schedule they're going to face in 2016. We'll be back in a moment. Hey, we remind you from our good friends at the South Carolina Forestry Commission, insects and diseases can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood and threaten our forests, favorite campsites, neighborhoods, state and national parks. Help protect the trees that you love by purchasing firewood at or near where you burn it. For more information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. Thanks again to Harold Nichols for being with us. Tough situation, guys, when you're coaching an FCS team like that and you have to go play these money games to help fund your entire athletic program. And inevitably, it's a lopsided loss. I mean, everybody says, well, what about Appalachian State beating Michigan? Yeah, it happens. It's 1 in a million, but it does happen sometimes. And occasionally you can be competitive and feel good. But you get your brains beat out, you get some guys hurt, and, it sort of puts a downer on your team. And then they've got to play Chattanooga, which is no slouch. Campbell, Florida Tech. Now, those could be a couple of wins. Then they get to their Big South play. Last year Presbyterian was really so close to winning almost every Big South game they played in.
Because they brought their defense every
Their
game.
defense was exceptional last year. Really was. They got to find some offense, though. That's the key thing for them. Got to be ready for Florida there on November 19th. Let's just say your PC and it was like Charleston Southern. This past year, I think. Yeah, Charleston Southern had the great year and won the league and everything, getting ready for the FCS playoffs. But they had to go to Alabama first, and of course they got waxed by Alabama. And he took out his frontline guys pretty quickly. But to me, you're ripping off these games rip off the fans too. I mean, you're charging them. It's like preseason NFL football. You're charging them regular price for a meaningless game.
Oh, well, now you're sticking up for the fans. Earlier, you don't mind them getting gouged a little bit, charging the students to go to a game. Now,
no. I mean,
how quick you change. Now you're back on the side of the
thing at
student.
Clemson is, let me ask you this. I don't know the answer to this. Do the Clemson students pay a fee for their athletic tickets?
I don't know.
See, I don't know. If you're not paying a fee, then I got no problem with them doing that. If you're paying a fee and then they're going to lop on another cost for the ticket, then maybe that's something for another discussion.
Unnecessary.
Here's a word for the student, and I don't mean to begrudge the athletic.
Stay in the library and don't even go to games
No.
on Saturday. Stay in the library and get your education.
A seat to me in a football stadium, if I had my druthers, low, depending on the angle, and high, go high. Go for the free seat.
Or low and high, if you know what I mean.
Let's hope not.
K-Mac gets that, don't you?
Especially if they're in the upper deck. I hope they're not too high. But yeah, I'd rather the seat in the upper deck. In fact, I will tell people underrated seat, upper deck in the end zone. You see across the formation, it's a great seat. People who tell you it's not a great seat, they don't know football.
All right, we'll be right back. Hey, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266. Waiting on Chip Wild to join us here from Darlington. And he should be ringing us up here most any time now, we certainly hope. In the meantime, we'll open up the phone lines, 800-956-7266, the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at sportstalksc. The website is sportstalksc.com, and on Facebook, like us, love us there at Sports Talk Radio Network. Our poll question of the week on the website, sportstalksc.com. How does USC's spring game performance influence your expectation for 2016? Much more excited, moderately more excited, feeling the same as before game, moderately more worried, much more worried. And so far, leading the way, moderately more excited, 34%. 33% say feeling the same as before the game. 19% say much more excited. 7% say much more worried. 5% say moderately more worried. So about 13% are more worried, and 53% are excited, more excited to some degree. 33% they haven't changed.
I think there's like 10% of every fan base that it doesn't matter what your team does.
They're ticked off.
They're going to be upset. If they win, they're not winning by enough.
Right.
If they lose, it's terrible. Fire the coach. I don't know why those people even like sports. They're never happy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just never, ever happy. They always try to find something wrong. You should be optimistic right now if you're Clemson. You should really still be savored here. You don't know when you're going to have that kind of run again, and really be optimistic about the season going forward. You never know what's going to happen. There's always twists and turns, but there is no reason not to be extremely, extremely optimistic if you're a Clemson fan right now.
All right, for a while there on Sunday, you could say that Jordan Spieth was the hottest athlete on the planet until he crashed and burned on the backside. I'd have to say, coming off the weekend, that Kyle Busch might be the hottest athlete. Not talking about looks. He's not particularly good looking. Talking about performance-wise, the hottest athlete on the planet based on what he's doing. Chip Wild from Darlington joining us now. You concur? Is Kyle Busch the hottest athlete going right now?
Well, he certainly is showing his strength. My gosh, 5 wins in a row. If you look back to California, he hasn't lost a race in almost 3 weeks. That's quite a run. And Kyle Busch has shown his strengths throughout the last 2.5 years, and really showing his resilience from coming back from a horrific injury last year and winning the championship, and certainly showing his strength early this year in a number of races, and we're only 8 weeks in.
Yeah. How does he, to make that transition from the trucks to the Xfinity Series to the Sprint Cup Series, the different requirements and skills it takes to drive those 3 different machines, how do you think he does that so well on any given weekend?
Well, if you look at his record over his entire career, he does better when he has a full plate, when he has a truck to race or an Xfinity car to race. When a couple of years ago he decided he wasn't going to run as many companion races and really focus his efforts on the Sprint Cup Series car, it didn't bode well for him. He just didn't run as well, and I think everybody learned that he needs to have seat time. He needs to be behind the wheel of a race car if he's at the racetrack. So I think we all are seeing the success, but if he didn't have as full of a plate and was really trying to focus on one car, he might overthink it. Kyle Busch, no question, is one of the most talented race car drivers we have in the Sprint Cup Series garage and the Xfinity Series garage and then the Camping World Truck Series garage. But I think the reason he's successful is because he's very passionate, and he's also kind of flies off the seat of his pants. Whatever he thinks right then is what he's going to report. And if you look at these drivers who spend most of their time focusing on their Sprint Cup car, they almost overanalyze what the car's doing and how they can correct it.
Yeah, and you'd have, for his personal life, getting married, becoming a father has done wonders for his driving career. It really has settled him down.
No question. I think winning a Sprint Cup Series championship last year has also done a lot for him. He knows how to get it done. People have been asking him since he came on the scene 10 years ago,
hey, when are you going to win a Sprint Cup Series championship? And I think that's haunted him a little bit. And now he's got that under his belt. He kind of feels like he doesn't have as much to prove. He can go out and just focus on winning races. And we're seeing the fruits of that labor come to fruition right now.
All right, while we're going on with the races right now, and your race is still a ways off, but teams are already talking about Darlington and the throwback schemes. And I see where Roush Racing yesterday revealed the look on their car, the number 17, what they're going to do. That's got to be exciting to know that teams are already making plans for the type of car and the look they want to have at Darlington this year.
Listen, if they're talking April, we're doing our job, and a lot goes into these paint schemes. It doesn't just happen. We've spent a lot of time, really in December, January, and February of this year in Charlotte, talking to these race teams, laying out our plan of what we're going to do at the racetrack to celebrate, and how can they get involved. So we've had the opportunity to see the majority of the paint schemes. I think we're going to have the entire Sprint Cup Series field represented with a throwback scheme this year, which is really exciting. But tomorrow, one of the biggest names in the sport, if not the biggest name in the sport, Dale Earnhardt Jr., will be unveiling the 88 Nationwide car, the throwback car, at 2 o'clock. So if you're not able to see it on the Twitter or whatever, go to NASCAR.com and you can watch us unveil it live at the racetrack.
Yeah, I'll be there for that. Looking forward to it. This idea of the throwback paint schemes for the cars. Now, you did it last year. It's catching on for this year, too. Do you see this continuing on down the road, or is it going to end at some point?
No, Phil, it's a 5-year plan that we have and that we've laid out. And what we do is we celebrate an epic era each year. At the rate last year it was 70 to 74. This year it'll be 1975 to 1984. And we're really trying to celebrate the heroes in that era. But what we go to the teams with is an opportunity for them to celebrate something that they're really passionate about. So the drivers have really had a lot of input. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Was very passionate about doing a Darrell Waltrip throwback scheme this year, and really had a lot of the input from Darrell himself on what the paint scheme should look like and what car they should use. So it's been a really fun process. I think what we've learned about this, Phil, is that it's unique, it's different, and it celebrates the history of the sport, just like the throwback jerseys you see one weekend in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of taken that concept and now we own it at Darlington. And it certainly makes a lot of sense with the history and the heritage that Darlington has, being in business for 67 years now.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It's special.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Stenhouse car, and they've got it decked out like Waltrip's car, number 17 from years past. So that's going to look sharp. Now, how are the ticket sales moving? As we're still a ways off, but as you start to hit mid-April here, and you got the summer months coming up, how's the flow of ticket sales going?
Yeah, ticket sales are good. Obviously, with this new throwback concept, our race has become one of the 4 tentpole races of the year, and fans want to come out because, again, it's something different. And our race fans are very passionate about how we got here and the history of our sport. And the fact that we're celebrating it at Darlington on Labor Day weekend makes a ton of sense. So ticket sales are good. If you haven't gotten your tickets, you need to go to darlingtonraceway.com and get them today because they are going quick. And if last year is any indication, we won't have that many left come September.
You got that. Hey, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Look forward to seeing you, Phil. Thanks a lot, my man.
Thank you. Chip Wild, president of Darlington. Yes, I didn't bring that up because they had asked in the release, they said, don't put this out in the public that Dale Jr. is going to be at Darlington tomorrow. So that's why we never mentioned it. And then he mentioned it. So it's okay now.
While you're there, you have to get us unblocked.
Yeah, I don't know.
You got to work on that.
How I'm going to have
on the front lines. You're going to have to figure out a way.
Nobody blocks us.
I know you
now, wait a minute. Are you following him on your own?
On the KMAC. Yeah, I am following him. And he's been talking a lot about eating banana and mayo sandwiches. So maybe I'm glad he blocked us. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'll find out what the deal is. I'll do some
he hasn't figured out
on that tomorrow. Okay, so we'll have that covered for you tomorrow night on Sports Talk. You will hear from Dale Jr. right here. Be right back. Hey, whether you are part of Gamecock Nation or you bleed Clemson orange, everyone can agree on Dabo Founders Federal Credit Union. That's a little joke there since Dabo got all this money. Yeah. Actually, it's just Founders Federal Credit Union. We can all agree on them. Convenient location at the Russell House on US East Campus. And, boy, when I was going through there, they would never think of putting a bank in there. That thing would have, no telling what might have happened. Anyway, and a new location on Highway 93 in Clemson, that's coming soon. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit relaxjoin.com. See if you qualify for membership. Founders, Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA. Speaking of Dabo, he, along with Shaq Lawson and Kevin Dodd, will attend the NFL draft, expecting that those guys will go very early. And I would imagine that Mackenzie Alexander is going to be there as well. Also, the Tigers today, they got their rings for their Orange Bowl victory. Brent Venables put his out on Twitter to be viewed. Got a big old tiger paw in diamonds with kind of an orange background to it, et cetera. Got the name on one side, the year on the other. Didn't you tell me you saw something about the Citadel putting out some rings?
Yeah, I saw a tweet. The Citadel commemorating their very successful season, won a piece of the SoCon, went to the playoffs, and on that ring they had the score of the victory over the Gamecocks.
All right. Clemson and Western Carolina, that baseball game was delayed until 7:45, and I think they're still in a delay. I think they're taking the tarp off the field, so that game is not yet underway. Some other college baseball we can tell you about nationally. Florida and Florida State playing tonight. Bottom of the fifth, Gators are up 4-1. Top-ranked Miami leading Nova Southeastern 1-0. Vandy's playing Middle tonight. No score yet there. Louisville leading Western Kentucky 11-2. NC State over Elon 9-2. And who else of interest here? Nah, that's it for that. Around the ACC, Notre Dame leading Chicago State 6-2. Duke leading Davidson 5-0. Georgia and Georgia Tech playing tonight. Is this the annual game at Turner Field?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, 2-0 Georgia. 2-0 Georgia. I'm hearing it's 2-0 Georgia, but Kirby Smart has got a gag order on the release of information. It's got to be like,
no, it's not a gag order, it's just a delay order.
Yeah. So we hear that Georgia's up 2-0. Greensboro and Wake Forest are 2-2. Pittsburgh and West Virginia scoreless. I say NC State leading Elon 9-2. Boston College, gosh, my alma mater goes down again. Boston College beats Harvard 11-9. Hey, Carson, did you know that I went to Harvard? Did I ever tell you that story? Yeah, okay.
That was Carson's safety school.
The operative word in that statement is story.
Yeah. SEC, Tennessee leading Appalachian State 4-1. Kennesaw State leading Auburn 4-1. Kennesaw State's not bad in baseball. I think they made the tournament last year. And let's see, around the states, catch you up on what's happening there. Upstate and Georgia State, they were postponed today. Presbyterian, North Carolina Central postponed. College of Charleston, Coastal Carolina postponed. Citadel and Winthrop, that game's been canceled. Okay, they were scheduled to make up a game from February 23rd, but it was canceled today. Savannah State and Charleston Southern canceled today or postponed, whatever the case may be. So nobody's getting a chance to play, even though the weather hasn't been all that bad here this afternoon in the Columbia area. SoCon, anybody playing here that's able to play? No. All right, so you're up to date there. What else do I want to mention? Let's see, there was something else I just seen that I wanted to throw out there. What was it? We were about to talk about it. Tell me, K-Man, what were we about to talk about? Swansea High School. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Swansea High School has a new head coach. Greg Wright from Eau Claire is going there. And, I saw this is what I wanted to mention.
Great program. Trying to get
Latta beat in baseball and softball today. I wanted to mention that.
The old daily double, okay.
Yeah, it's always good to win. Always nothing can replace victory. Victory is the ultimate goal. So going back to we didn't really dive into this too much. But going back to what we were saying with Dabo getting this, is he being hypocritical for what he was quoted as saying a couple of years ago? Because
no,
it's his profession. It's how he makes his money. And there are some people who view the athletes as indentured servants, and they should be making that kind of money as well. I mean, is it fair to say that? Is it fair to say that he's being hypocritical for taking the money, while saying that if it ever becomes professionalism, he doesn't want to be a part of it?
I don't know if hypocritical is the right word, but there is some irony in that.
Yes. We'll pick back up on it in a moment. Hey, good news for the Braves. Not losing yet to Washington. Just a matter of time. It's the bottom of the third, and they're scoreless in D.C. Braves off
small
to
victories.
0-6 start, and that's the worst start since, 1980, I think? Anyway, 88. All right, so anyway, just to wrap up what we're talking about here. I mean, look, you either have a professional organization when it comes to sports, or you have an amateur organization.
Mm-hmm.
We have our professional sports leagues. We have laws in place that prevent you from going to those professional leagues in many ways, not in every sport. I mean, you could be a 12-year-old phenom in golf or tennis and go right and play professional sports. Now, those aren't the team sports.
Force you to play, essentially, if you want to play, even if you're good enough to go pro.
I just think in college, look, I think that you've either got to be you've either got to embrace amateurism and try and keep it that way, or then let everything become just professional sports and everybody share in the booth.
Well, I don't think you have to go that far to make them salaried guys, but they're doing more now. And let's face it, until not even 2 years ago, about a year ago, they couldn't even feed them but a certain amount of food.
Well,
they had pasta violations. I mean,
that the thing was stupid for a long time.
Yeah, and they're making billions of dollars. So you can't tell me that they can't. Ohio State just said, we're going to send our guys to the championship. We're going to pay for the families. So they need to do that. There's ways that you can take care of these players and their families while they're there.
Here's one
at this level, Pandora's box has been opened.
Well, sure.
If you want amateurism, go to Division II and Division III football. I mean, because at this highest level, there is so much money out there
We say that, but
the
the schools, for example, you saw David Hood's story breaking down Clemson and its trips to the ACC championship, the Orange Bowl, and to Phoenix, and they came back with nothing but the shirt on their back. They didn't make any money allegedly off of that. The conference made a bunch of money. And the conference made a bunch of money, but Clemson didn't bring home a big chunk of change. So, I mean, I don't know. I just go to I'd like to see. I'd like to think that, you know, maybe I'm living in a dream world. I still like to think we're looking at college athletics from an education standpoint first, and get your education. If you happen to be one of those blessed individuals good enough to play professional sports, then move on and go play.
Most of them aren't,
sports.
though. Most of them aren't.
Exactly.
But there's no reason that they can't be taking it more during that 4-year period for as much money as they're bringing in, that they can't get a little bit more.
Well, they're doing that. They're doing that
slowly, because of the outcry when people realize, like, come on.
And if they're smart enough, they stay in there, get your grades.
But then
parlay being a member of this team, and you can write your own.
But then,
ticket.
do you begrudge a coach for making $5
Not
million?
at all. No, you take it.
All right. Hey, tomorrow, Dale Earnhardt Jr. coverage of USC.
What if he doesn't take your questions? You're blocked.
And North Carolina. Yeah, we'll find out about it. He won't know who I am. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow.